Treasurer.
Well, thank you, Jim. Thank you, Laura. 3 years ago to the very day, I stood before this lectern in this room ahead of the 2019 election. Little did I know, little did we know what Australia was going to go through over the next 3 years. We saw the biggest economic shock since the Great Depression. The first global pandemic in more than a century. 1.4 million Australians either lost their jobs or saw their working hours reduced to zero. Treasury came to me and said, Treasurer, the unemployment rate in Australia could reach as high as 15%. That would be more than 2 million people unemployed. The size of the global economic shock during COVID was more than 30 times that experienced during the GFC. And I'm proud and pleased to stand before you today and say the unemployment rate is not 15%. The unemployment rate is not 5.7% as it was under Labor, but the unemployment rate today is its equal lowest in 48 years at just 4%. In fact, it was Jim who said the single biggest test for the Morrison government's management of this recession would be what happens to unemployment and jobs. And female unemployment today is at its lowest level since 1974. There are around 2 million more Australians in work today than under the Labor Party. Youth unemployment, underemployment, female unemployment, headline unemployment are all lower today than under the Labor Party. Now, if you think that is luck, you are wrong. It's an economic plan that is working. JobKeeper saved more than 700,000 jobs. Home Builder put more than 100,000 people into a home. Our tax relief provided support for more than 11 million workers and 3.5 million small businesses, and we are one of 9 countries in the world to have maintained a AAA credit rating from the 3 leading credit rating agencies. And just last month, the International Monetary Fund upgraded Australia's economic growth forecast while it downgraded the rest of the world. Now, this is our record, and we will campaign on our record. But it's also about the future, our future economic plan for the country, a plan that I laid out in a budget just a matter of weeks ago, a plan that delivers cost of living relief now, halving the fuel excise, ensuring that the lower middle income tax offset has been lifted by $420, seeing 6 million pensioners, veterans, others on income support, carers get $250 cheques in the mail, and also ensuring that our medicines are more affordable for more than 2.4 million Australians. We laid out a long-term plan to create more jobs by backing our regions as the new frontiers of economic growth, by backing small business with increased tax deductions, by investing more in manufacturing so that we can have supply chains that are resilient, and ensuring that Australia moves to net zero emissions by 2050 with a fully funded and costed plan. That is what we set out in the budget, while guaranteeing the essential services that Australians rely on with record spending in health, in education, in disability support, in mental health, and also for women's safety. And we're investing more in national security and defence after the Labor Party recklessly saw defence spending on their watch go down to its lowest level since 1938 as a percentage of GDP. And we're living in a more unstable environment, and we need to invest more in national security and defence. So that's our plan, and that's our record. Now, the Australian people will go to the ballot box in just a few weeks' time. They will face a very clear choice between a coalition that has delivered more jobs and lowered the unemployment rate, and a Labor Party which, when they came to government, the unemployment rate was 4.4%, and when they left government, the unemployment rate was 5.7%. Between a coalition that has delivered lower taxes, $40 billion alone since the start of the pandemic, and a Labor Party, when they were last in government, increased taxes by $120 billion and took to the last election $387 billion of higher taxes. and a coalition that has steered the economy through the biggest economic shock since the Great Depression, leading the world with our recovery, and a Labor Party that got the big calls wrong, like on JobKeeper when Anthony Albanese said the economic roof would come crashing down when it was ended. And they wanted the COVID disaster payment to keep going, and they wanted to splash $6 billion of taxpayers' money on people to get the jab when they already had the jab. You see, the coalition has delivered lower unemployment, lower taxes and a strong economic recovery. And we have the plan to take Australia forward. Whereas the Labor Party has no plan other than the 13-page brochure, which means more public servants, another review and Bill Shorten's old multinational tax agenda. This is the choice. The coalition under Prime Minister Scott Morrison, who's delivered a budget, who's held a Treasury portfolio, and Anthony Albanese, who's never delivered a budget, never held a Treasury portfolio, doesn't know what the cash rate is, doesn't know the unemployment rate. That's the clear choice for 26 million Australians.